One defining characteristic of our constitutional republic is the power vested in the executive branch. The President of the United States has a unique authority that has often been called the bully pulpit, a power that cannot be dispersed among the 535 members of Congress. This power has been used at various times for various reasons. Lincoln used it to free the slaves. FDR used it to tell us we had nothing to fear but fear itself. JFK used it to inspire us to put a man on the moon. Ronald Reagan used it to drive home the hard truth that government is not the solution to our problems, but is itself the problem. In times of crisis, the American people look to the president to lead. That's why it was such a crashing disappointment to see this president refuse to exercise any semblance of leadership or moral authority with the budget just released from the White House. With a national debt at $14 trillion and seemingly certain to keep mounting for as far as the eye can see, we are in a time of unprecedented economic peril. We are at a tipping point. Now, it's no secret that the big ticket item that must be addressed is entitlements. These mandatory payments account for almost 2/3 of the federal budget. 2/3! And unfunded liabilities of more than $100 trillion in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid in the years ahead threaten to overwhelm the economy. But instead of making the case that we must address the entitlement issue now and opening a vital discussion, the president made a cynical and cowardly calculation that it would be better to let Republicans stick their necks out on this issue so the Democrats can then demagogue the issue and generate fear the way they did when the last president tried to address Social Security. At the same time, the president tries to take credit for being fiscally responsible by freezing non-entitlement domestic spending, a mere sliver of the federal budget compared to entitlements, after he and his party ran that spending up to its highest level in history. This is not leadership. This is pure, undiluted political partisanship at a time when we can least afford it. And it begs the question in this time of peril, Mr. President, are you serious? It appears he is not. And the House of Representatives has its hands tied because the Senate is controlled by the opposite party. Look, it took all the House could muster just to come up with spending cuts that amount to less than 4% of the federal deficit. And it may well take the threat of a government shutdown to get even that done. But there is a light amidst this darkness. The Senate has now become the center of gravity for serious, adult, bold, courageous ideas that actually attack this crisis. From Kentucky Senator Rand Paul's plan to cut $500 billion from the federal budget, to one from Utah Senator Mike Lee to constitutionally balance the budget and limit federal spending to a prescribed percentage of the gross domestic product. The upper chamber of Congress is exerting leadership. But these serious lawmakers sit in the minority, and the troops need reinforcements. What they need is not career politicians who go along to get along and cling to power at all costs, but courageous men and women and citizen legislators willing to stand up and call a spade a spade. If this president is reelected, and most presidents are, it will become absolutely vital that control of the Senate change hands. It's no guarantee that we'll get the courageous action necessary to avoid the economic abyss, but it may be our last best hope.